Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. On this Sunday in 4 days, on June the 6th, we have a state election in Sachsen-Anhalt. That is a small central German state, a little bit north to the center actually, and this state made the headlines recently because a poll saw the AfD as the largest party ahead of the CDU and all the other parties. That was only one poll though. The other polls that were done around the same time saw the AfD as a close second. So I am very excited. I'm looking forward to seeing the results on Sunday, and even if the AfD cannot be the strongest party, it will still be interesting how the other parties will react to a very strong result of the AfD in Sachsen-Anhalt, in Magdeburg, in the capital. Remember, I was there earlier this year when I reported from there. Magdeburg is a beautiful city with a wonderful cathedral and a rich but tragic history. Maybe I will make a video about that and tell you a little bit about Magdeburg in an upcoming video. But today I want to present the numbers, the polls so far. How does it look with respect to the upcoming election? What possible coalitions will we see? Remember that not all of the other parties can form a coalition without any problems. That will become quite interesting. And then after that, I want to give you some rough information about the state of Sachsen-Anhalt. Alright, so let's go right into it. This is the average of several polls, and you can see here that the CDU is still seen as the strongest party according to the polls, around 27%, then the AfD at 24%, then the SPD and the Commie Party around 10 or 11%, then the Green Party a little less than 10, and the Liberal Party FDP at 8%. There is a new faction that we have, well, not a faction, but a new party for Sachsen-Anhalt that is on the list now, on the data here, and that is the Freien Wähler, that is the free voters basically. We have this movement or this party in the south for a very long time already. They are also in the Landtag of Bavaria now, for example, and as I said, I mean, we have them for decades. This is not a new phenomenon, but I think for Sachsen-Anhalt it is rather new that they are on the list here. They are similar to the CDU, I would say. In Bavaria, at least, I can say that these free voters, the Freien Wähler, they are a little bit like the CSU, but without the corruption maybe and all the nepotism that is what the CSU is known for in Bavaria. But they're also conservative, I would say, and liberal, both at the same time. So a mixture of CSU, CDU, and FDP maybe. But they are not really the topic of this video now. I just wanted to explain it to people who might not be familiar with them. So here you can see the three individual polls that I've found and the results. And you see this INSA poll from the middle of May sees the AfD 1% ahead at 26%, ahead of the CDU at 25%. But that is just one of the three, as you can see. The other two polling agencies and in their polls that they conducted, they see the AfD as the second strongest party here, and they still see the CDU with 29 or 28% as number one. So what does that mean then with respect to losses and gains if these polls were to be taken as realistic, which, by the way, in Germany they most of the times are. We've seen that time and time again. These polls are very close generally in Germany to the actual result of these elections. You see that the CDU would lose a little bit, the AfD would stay more or less the same, the party Die Linke would lose, and the SPD also, the Green Party and the Liberal Party and the Free Voters, they would win a little bit. And yeah, this is very easy to understand, I think, with respect to the old parties and Die Linke in the East. This is a former GDR state, kind of. This state, Sachsen-Anhalt, belonged to the Eastern Republic. So it is mostly older people that are generally voting for the SPD and the CDU, the former grand parties of Germany. But in the East, it is also mostly older people that are voting for the Commie Party, that is basically a descendant, or it is one and the same party as the Socialist Unity Party of the East. They just changed their name a little bit. It's still the same old guys, and so it is mostly older people that are voting for them. So nothing to be surprised about. This is all very plausible. And the Green Party, well, there is a green surge sweeping over Europe, of course. They are becoming more popular, especially as other leftist parties become less popular, because remember, people don't just become right-winged or liberal after being leftists. They stay leftists. They just go from the SPD to the Green Party, or they go from Die Linke to the Green Party. The Green Party is just the hipper leftist party now. So all these movements, all these changes, these losses and gains are actually very easy to understand. And what can I say about the Liberal Party? Well, they always lurk in the shadows, and it is unexplainable to me how they can still get these results after selling out their voter base and the people time after time. They are socialists in disguise. They pose as liberals, and liberal in Germany, liberal in Europe, of course, means something else than liberal progressive in the USA or the UK, I want to say. Here, this means Freedom Party, classical liberalism, low taxes, small government, entrepreneurship, and all that stuff. And this is exactly what the FDP poses with, what they promise people to realize and implement, but they always fail to deliver. And their youth organization is, well, basically a leftist movement. They're very far left, and to me it's a socialist party in a liberal disguise. Alright, so what kinds of coalitions would be possible? Of course, the CDU and the AfD, they would have a stable majority, very comfortable. They could do really good conservative, of course not. Of course they can't, because in Germany nobody is allowed to form a coalition with the AfD, and everyone knows that. Even members of the AfD in Sachsen-Anhalt, when they were interviewed, when they were talking about it, they said, no, we will of course not be in government. Even if we are the strongest party, we will not be in government, because nobody will work together with us, because all the other parties are globalist parties and they are conspiring. They are working together in order to keep the AfD out of power. What we see is a similar thing to France, for example, or the Netherlands, where all these other parties, these globalist parties that are supported by globalist NGOs and organizations and billionaires, they are forming political cartels in order to keep these populist or conservative parties that have the support of the people, or at least I should say they have the support of a very large group among the people, and they're keeping them away from power. That is very usual, and this is of course also the case in Sachsen-Anhalt. And then I think, because this map, you must know, this shows all mathematically possible combinations. This is not politically realistic, right? So I would exclude all the combinations of the Commie Party that is shown in purple here with the CDU. I just don't think that they can do that. I also think the Liberal Party will not form a coalition with the Commie Party. I can't really imagine that. And even this very slim majority of the CDU, the SPD and the FDP, probably not that realistic. And on the right hand side, you know, AfD and Commie Party and SPD, yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, they don't want to make any assumptions, and this is why they put all the possible combinations here on this image, but of course this is not realistic. So the one that is surrounded by this broken blue dashed box here. That is maybe the most realistic thing. CDU, SPD and Green Party. I mean, that would be in the year 2021 probably very uncontroversial and realistic, I would say. But the AfD will once again be the number one opposition party, or should I say the only real opposition party, and they can continue their work in parliament then. Alright, so now I want to put this a little bit into perspective, because you can say, wow, look, the AfD, 25%, that's so great. Well, Sachsen-Anhalt is a very small state, not only in GDP, but also in population. A lot of people have left that state. It is shrinking. This shrinking process has been slowing down, but it is still shrinking. There are also many old people there because, of course, young people tend to leave these areas. They don't want to live in rural areas where they have to go into the trades or work in a factory. They want to be in big cities where there are a lot of white collar jobs in air conditioned offices, of course. And this is why they leave this very beautiful state, actually. And I mean, that's just me, but I would always prefer a rural area if I can get a job there, at least. I would not want to live in a city, but most young people think differently. That is why the population is still going down. The unemployment rate, however, is also going down. If you want to call that a success, well, it kind of is. So I think economically the state is improving, and while it is still shrinking at a, however, decelerated rate, maybe one can look into the future of Sachsen-Anhalt with mild optimism. And I hope also that many people and also some young people will realize that there are some chances in that state if you value safety, security, and a wonderful, breathtaking nature. Then maybe Sachsen-Anhalt is a good state for you. Alright, this was my little update, my little info video about the upcoming election. I went over the polls, I explained it a little bit, put it into perspective, and I hope you are informed, and I'm looking forward to the results to the election on Sunday. Servus, Kameraden!